Difficult times build character.
This isn't just a show, this is real life. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
You gotta see it before anyone else can see it.
Every second, every minute, every day.
We train for life. We got you.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Relentless Wave podcast, episode number 12. I'm here with my longtime friend and partner, Matt Strout. As always, just the two of us today. We've had an awesome run with our first 11 episodes, and our last two with special guests was great experiences. We had a real good conversation with Evan Van Arsdale and Anthony Tango on the previous episode. So today's episode was, for the first time, utilizing some of the feedback and suggestions that we received from some of our Relentless community and some of our listeners. And this one's a cool one: the secret to approaching your workout. We're going to kind of talk about our intentions when we work out and how we guide our Relentless members and our clients to a different mindset and a different approach while working out. So Matt always has some good insight on this. You want to start us off and tell us what your vision is and what your idea is behind your workout and your how you approach things.
Yeah, for sure. Again, definitely grateful for the feedback that we got, to lead us to this point. This is definitely what we want. We love that interaction. We love that the intent really behind people really listening. It's really cool. We're grateful for that. And then coming up with different topics for us to kind of shoot back and forth. So this was presented really nicely from one of our members in the community here about the word that she used was reframing, which I really like, because I think we talk about that a lot. It's something that we've done in our own business recently, of just reframing the whole perspective of Relentless. We've done it from the top down, from ourselves to our team and then to our community, about how we perceive this movement. And I think this obviously goes hand in hand right in with that,
Sure.
So I also think that this is something that you and I have talked about for years throughout our journey as we've grown. So I think it's cool because as we've gone through our progressions personally of just men growing in our lives, from competing in sports at a young age and like that just being everything for us at that moment, and then as responsibilities start growing, naturally and organically, we never let working out leave us, right? So like, we definitely are not doing it, let's say, at the level of the competition per se that we were at that moment, competing for a specific sport at that time in our lives. But I think what we've done and what we've done with our business and a movement of what Relentless stands for has been hand in hand with what we've done to reframe, right, using that key word there, to reframe our thought process for how it has been able to constantly add value to us as leaders, and how we take our leadership to a very high level. We take our decisions and our actions affect the livelihood of multiple people, from our team to our community. And I think we take that very, very seriously, more than we always have, but I think it's more than ever, and I think ultimately we understand that the way that we constantly grow and groom and evolve ourselves is a direct correlation to the growth of everything around us. And I think it's been by us really being able to make that decision of understanding that, working out is not a punishment, or it's not, do this because of this. It's not like it's not a forced thing. And I think where we have talked about this in the past, right, and where we kind of had epiphanies along our way, was talking on growing up in sports. It's kind of funny because we love playing the sport, right? So like that actual sport-specific thing of whatever that sport was, but then there was this other thing attached to it that we kind of always had to do, right? And it was like weight training and conditioning. And back then it was like, it got cooler as we got a little older and like we started seeing our bodies change a little bit like that. But in the beginning it was always just like that other thing. Like there was like the thing like, I gotta go condition, you know, like we're not playing football, we're not playing baseball, basketball, like whatever it is, like we're not playing this, but we gotta go run, or we gotta go do some sprints. We gotta go to the weight room and lift, and we're looking at our workouts, we're like, yeah, we gotta do this, you know? And it was always like tied to that. Or, hey, you messed up, or you made a mistake, you saw that error you just did, go take a lap around the building, you know? Like, alright, like that's what you do. So I think like, for a while, it was hardwired for us personally as almost like a punishment, or like, hey, you have to do this better, or you didn't do this as good, so now go run for 30 minutes and think about what you did type deal. Like, you know, so I think there had to come a time where like, as we grew up and we stayed in this industry, and now we're leading others in this fitness space, right? We had to keep ourselves ready, able and willing to either at least do those things or perform those things to a certain level to lead someone else, right? So now, as we've gone, now all of a sudden we found ourselves making sure that we're making time to do our weight training or to go out on some runs, to do these things, and these are purposefully we're putting these in front of ourselves now, right? So I think for a while it was about us understanding that these things are not what maybe we used to perceive them as, and we're purposefully doing this to go out of our way to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations and scenarios and adversity, and then overcoming them. Right. And then feeling that momentum day in and day out build and compound. And that's kind of like, we'll go deeper as we keep going back and forth, but that has been a reframed thought process for us, in a baseline version of how we've perceived workouts then till now.
Right. And it takes a lot of time to get to those points. I think two of the biggest things are, number one is understanding that it does take a while to get there. So that's training, right? When we talk about any type of training, whether it be physical training, mental training, like when you're doing something, when you're working out, when you're doing an exercise, when you're practicing something over and over, you're training your body to do it, whether it's muscle memory, whether it's brain memory, whatever it is, you're building a system, you're building something that your body understands and knows how to do and gets better at the more you do it. So I think the two biggest things are there's different entry points, right? There's many entry points to when people start working out, or when people start taking this on and making that step and that decision. As we always talk about, it's a decision by the individual that they're ready to make that step and challenge themselves and get better through working out. On the one end, it's when you're very young, right? It's something that's instilled in you. On the far end, it's something that we see people don't get into it until they're older in life, and when some people, members we have maybe were their first, facility or gym that they've been a part of, and they're 50 or older years old. You know what I mean? So for us, it's been a part of our whole life, right? And for a lot of people, but for them, it's not. So it's building the mindset and going back to that word. For them, it's more of a reframe, right? For the youth, it's more of building that up, and it's the beginning process of training there. It's a fresher canvas. So point being is that it's so important of how we deliver the approach, and we've realized that more than ever, I think. We always talk about, from the delivery end, kicking someone's butt, beating them down, boot camp style, crushing them, smoking them out, making their muscles completely exhausted, their body tired that they can't walk when they leave the facility, right? And for certain situations and certain trainings and certain moments in life, you do want to put that that in front of them, like you said, that ability to overcome something.
Correct.
But what we've learned and how we've approached it, and even with our members, and I love that one of our members of the community stepped up because she gets it.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Props to her, because she's built herself too, but also has utilized the tools within our facility to get to that point too. Is that it's so important of how it's approached. You know what I mean? Because all it takes is one experience and one moment for you to crush yourself, or to be crushed, or to not take a workout with the right approach and the right intentions, to kind of distinguish everything and maybe not work out for a couple months or a week, and it what's the word I'm looking for? It discouraged you.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's just huge, is the initial purpose, right? The initial reason. All those other little things, you could have so much fun with and be so innovative with all the other things that are out there, the ways of training, the styles of training, listening to podcasts, stretching and flexibility, mobility, boxing. There's so many different tools. People like yoga, people like Pilates. When things are done with the right intention and the right way and you're taking care of your body, everything could be effective. I believe anything could be effective,
Yes.
So I think purpose is huge off the bat. Purpose is such a big thing. And to close it off on our end, on the delivery end, it's something like you said, like we've always had obviously good intention and great purpose, but over the last year or so, we've reframed our movement and ourselves to have that same delivery across the board, from our first coach to our 15th coach. You know what I mean? Like everybody gets like this is the Relentless way, and this is what's different, is that our community members, our clients, our people that we surround ourselves with as a whole are approaching things in life this way. You know, and I think that's a starting point. You know.
Yeah. I heard a great quote that stuck with me. Andy Frisella said it, but I don't know if he originally said it. I can't remember. But what it was you can't be the coach that you want to be. You need to be the coach that you need to be in that given moment. Mm-hmm. And it really stuck with me because I think that was something that we started doing, right? But when he said it and I heard it, I was like, that's it, right? So the way that I want to coach myself as Matt Strout, as the individual that I know I am, especially I know myself better than I ever have, so I know how to play the game, because that's what it is, you know. It's a game. It's the ability to set things up for yourself, set marks for yourself, and hold yourself accountable to completing them. And that's discipline, which then breeds confidence. And then from there, it's a beautiful, vicious cycle, right? It's controlling all of that. But I think for me, it was understanding that, like, the way I coach myself, most likely, especially like knowing myself now too, and having so many great conversations, meeting so many different walks of life, it's much more of a smaller percentage of the way that I'm going to coach others, which is fun. Sure. Like, it's not a right or wrong, right? It's about understanding what's in front of me. Right. So like
it's custom.
It's
like,
customization,
it's to the person.
right? It's like what we pride ourselves in. So like for me, it was like, all right, wait, like it's not a one way. This isn't a one shoe fits all thing.
Yes.
We're working with human beings, like you said. The past year, we really focused on the whole human. And I think by understanding that we're working with a human being, the reality is like, do you know any human that's the same? Like, right? Like, think about all the different people we know in our lives. Like, and they're all great. It's not like one's right or one's wrong. It's just they're different. Right. So how could we, if we are truly who we say we are, and we pride ourselves in human development and understanding people and picking their why out and using that to bring out the best version of them, how can we do one thing for everybody? It just doesn't make any sense.
And also to the person too, when you're working with yourself, treat yourself as an individual too.
Correct.
Like you're saying, you have the ability to do that. So people that are listening, like take that time and respect to treat yourself. And like, don't just say, I'm going to go to this place, this is their workout, this is their program, and it's very cookie cutter, and I'm going to follow it because that's what works for everyone else. You're doing yourself a disservice. You know what I mean? Like, pride yourself in finding, I'm not saying it has to be, but there's stuff out there. Finding something that fits you, right? That you know is going to make you better, but it takes a lot, right? To recognize and understand what works for you. That's the hardest part, right? That's a challenging part.
I use it a little analogy sometimes when we coach some of the younger coaches coming up, right? And it's a pretty simple analogy, but I feel like it helps people. But like, it's like when you play with a dog, okay? Like a little baby dog, a puppy. Your goal is to play with the puppy, so you want to play with it. You have to understand, like, if we're a big, strong human, like a grown human, it doesn't matter who you are, a grown human is stronger than a little puppy dog. It's just the reality, right? So you have to have the awareness inside of yourself to know what you're dealing with. So if I'm playing with a dog, I'm not going crazy trying to rip this thing out. I'm going to play with the dog and then I'm going to let the dog win. And the dog gets excited, and then it comes back and I get the toy, and then I let the dog win. Like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this to prove a point to the dog that I'm bigger and stronger and I can just rip it out every time? Or am I doing this? What does that do, right? It discourages the dog. So I'm there to help the dog, to build the dog, to have fun with the dog, and to let it enjoy itself and want to keep doing it, right? So now, when you put a human in front of you, right, this is what I learned after knowing that every individual is different, is like, what makes me feel accomplished and like proud is different than everyone else. So I don't need to go out and run on sick run where I have to run far away from the facility and force myself to come back home because that's what I like, right? Where like there's no one coming to get me, so I have to run back. I like that feeling of survival and digging and being gritty. That makes me feel good. Okay, cool. That's me. But I could just do 10 sit-to-stands with another individual that I took the time to really recreate the understanding of it, to where the weight is being distributed and how they're going to get up and how they're not going to have to lean on something and where they're going to get up confidently and like not have to hold on or need somebody else and see the look in their face of just like, wow, I just did it. And that was their win.
Right.
And that, to me, that's what we've done so well recently, and now we're really looking to expedite that because we understand it so much and we're getting so much great feedback because of how many people we can connect with and how we're scaling that better than ever because our team is so in tune with what we're doing and our culture is so high and everyone's playing and climbing the same mountain like we like to say.
Yes.
But now that's what it is. It's let's understand who's in front of us. Let's figure out where they are. That's important, right? Let's know where they came from, and now let's know where they want to go. Now let's figure out what that means. Now, they could come in and be 100 pounds overweight and say, I want to run a marathon. That's fine. Like, that's real deal stuff. Like, we deal with stuff like that, and that's amazing. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to
I've run a marathon
that day, right? I'm not going to make them go out and be like, oh, well, today's day one, you got to run 2 miles. Even 1 mile could be a lot. Maybe we go outside and we walk for 20 minutes consistently and record that. And in 2 days, after a little recovery, or 3 days, we walk 20 minutes again and we try to beat it by 0.01. Right. And there's a W. Boom. And now we call that compounded success. It's about being able to get that win for today, not totally smoke yourself out or burn yourself out. You're exhausted and fatigued. And then the next day, you're discouraged, like you said earlier, now you can't go back out and get it. Right. So now we can't stack those wins.
I guess the reality is, like, the mind focuses on, like, the human brain focuses on, especially in the height of adrenaline and their first time in or their initial approach of something new, right? Like attacking something.
Yep.
It's so easy to get ahead of yourself. So, like, the natural reaction is to, like, I want to run a marathon, I'm going to start going running marathons. That's the way to do it. I want to hit home runs, I'm going to start just swinging for the fences, right? But, like, the truth is, like, you have to build towards it, and that's the process, right? Like, I love trust the process, but also go through the process. Go through the process, enjoy it, break it down. One point that you brought up is, like, even for yourself, right? But this is for everybody, right? You may have a workout plan set out. And maybe for you, for this month, you know it's a busy month, and you have your simple stuff in there, right? But then you just get to one day, and you're like, I take care of my body, I'm mentally and physically in a good place, but today I just need a little more to overcome. I need a little more of a challenge. So maybe instead of hitting a couple quarter miles on the treadmill in between your circuit, you say, today I'm just going to scratch that, and I'm going to go away from the facility. I'm going to go for a run, for a 10-mile run, a 5-mile run, right? But it's okay to adjust like that. But that's the individual recognizing what for them in the moment, what's the best for them.
Correct.
Right? Physically, mentally, everything. Maybe you say, maybe for you it's a mile, right? Whatever it is, I'm just saying something that, like you said, takes you a little bit further.
Correct.
Right? It doesn't have to be that huge jump,
And then to add to that, right? This is what I believe was something that helped change me individually to become a better leader. Was that, because I love to push myself, challenge myself, and make those decisions if I need to do a little less, a little more. But the big thing for me was the discipline that I held myself to, like I like to call it amplified simplicity.
Right.
So I think it's easy to do the things that you really want to do when you feel like doing it, okay? When you're feeling good, it's fun to train yourself and challenge yourself and get that going. You, like you said, the adrenaline's pumping, and you're just like, like you just feel it, right? What you do when you don't feel it, to me, is the secret sauce that makes you who you are. And I also like to say that when nobody else is watching, right? Because when nobody else is watching you and holding you accountable, that's when it's easy to slip up. That's where it's easy to say, tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, right? So for me, it was creating something that I had to do no matter what. No matter how I felt. How I felt and what I do not equate. There's no connection to them, right? So what I did along the journey, right, there's been so many ups and downs. We could tell stories forever.
For sure.
In Andy's Plaza specifically, at that time of our journey when we were in Andy's Plaza, and the facility was being ran out of that shopping plaza. It was a grind time. That was a grind time. That was like a nasty grind. It was beautiful, right? But we were figuring things out. And at the time, I believed that I needed to sacrifice myself, per se, and dedicate myself to the movement. It was whatever it took for the movement, for the business. It was work every second, every hour, build the people. I didn't work out myself, per se. Was I moving a lot? Was I holding pads? Was I sparring, boxing? I was doing all these things, but I wasn't actually taking time for myself and putting it aside. And did it work? Yeah. Did we get it done? Yeah, we got it done. Did I lose a lot of weight and I lost a lot of myself, my muscle tone? Like, I lost myself almost, though, in that moment, because working out and fitness and weight training and all that was my love. It was like what I did, right? So I gave that up, but I thought I was doing it for the right thing. And what happened along the way is when we moved to this new place, I made a vow to myself, and I promised myself that no matter what, I'm going to take at least 30 minutes a day to dedicate to myself, because what I thought I was doing, I wasn't. And it's like the good old saying, like, put your oxygen mask on first, right? Like, I was putting everybody else's on, and I thought that was the right thing to do. And I think when I took that step back and I told myself the new rule that I made, the amplified simplicity, was for me to get to the foam roller. That was my saying. So every day around 12:31-ish, right, where we like to train, where it's a little quieter in the facility, everything tones down, is when I got to get turned up. So I would go from 6 a.m. till 12 or 1-ish doing PTs, working in the game. And then I would go change. I like to change. I change my whole self. It's like that transfer for me. It's like changing my hat. So now I coached other humans. Now it's time for me to coach myself. I change. I put my stuff on. And I get out there. And all I had to do was lay on the floor and get on the foam roller. That was my goal. That was the one thing. If I did that, I knew that I would be proud if I ultimately foam rolled my body, did some static stretching / mobility, a couple mobility exercises to keep myself mobile and loose, and then some band activation to keep my small ligaments, tendons, joints, and small muscles strong, because we also do work physically, holding pads, moving around. So I wanted to make sure that I was working to keep my risk of injury low as possible. And if I just did that, and that takes about 20 to 30 minutes, I'm proud of myself. And because I know I dedicated those 30 minutes, and I made myself a little bit better than yesterday, because there's a good old saying too, Sal Frisella likes to say, Andy's brother, is we are life and human beings, we're like trees. You're either growing or you're dying, right? So if you think that you're just staying the same, I want to be the one to tell you that you're not, unfortunately, right? Like you need to make a purposeful, intentful decision day in and day out to challenge yourself a little bit, to put yourself through a little adversity, whether it be holding yourself accountable to go for a 5 or 10 minute walk, to maybe reading or listening to a podcast for 5 to 10 minutes and grow yourself. Because if you don't, you're just not going to you won't get better. It's just the way things work, So I think that moment from there was knowing the dichotomy, right, of the extreme. There's highs, like there's far places that we could go and really, really put ourselves in some uncomfortable water and grind out of it. And there's a new low. There's not just nothing, because nothing snowballs, and it doesn't snowball in a good way.
And when you get to that point and make that commitment, when you feel and put yourself in that place, not that you'll never go back, but like you really won't. Like once you commit to that other level of thinking and game planning and committing to these little things, as you said, like making sure you get to your 30 minutes a day. Like once you commit to that stuff, you never go back, and it becomes just part of you. And I think that's why it's so important, like to take that action, to take that first step and implement these things into your life, because once you switch your approach up, you'll see it start going forward. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's still room to regress, and there's moments, but you're going to be so subconsciously aware that like you'll realize it. And we've done this with our team in general. I think we all carry kind of the same tool around as a team. Like we've always preached, like, take care of yourselves. Get like we always reference in the middle of the day when you come in. Sometimes you'll see a bunch of or certain moments see a bunch of coaches kind of taking care of themselves and working out. And I'm not saying they're doing anything crazy. Just doing things to better themselves, all in the same moments. And it's contagious. That's why it's important to submerge yourself into a community and surround yourself with the right people, to have this mindset, to have this approach to working out and training your mind and your body.
I want to add something really quick to what you just said. So The reason why I 100% agree with you is because if you could keep remembering how you feel after, that's the sauce,
sure,
right?
yeah.
So even if you take the 30 minutes, it's not about what you did, right? Because you could do very simple things. And this is where we all have to learn, is that we can get lost, like you said earlier, in the big picture.
The aesthetic stuff.
That we get discouraged and we feel like it's not happening quick enough. But if we could get those little compounded wins, that's where the true success comes. So I think if you could teach yourself in the moment, right? Because there's the decision moment where, what do I do? I have 30 minutes, I have 60 minutes, so I have the time now. So now what do? I make a decision. I'm so tired, I had a long week. Do I slowly try to start moving my body, or do I just sit down and say, I'm going to take a rest? In that moment, if you can remember how you feel, I can confidently say, like, I don't know too many people who have ever done any workout, right? And then after saying, damn, you know what? I wish I didn't do that, right? Obviously, we've all had our moments where we're digging and we're like, woof, like that was a tough one, right? But you're not like, I really wish I'm so upset with myself that I did that workout. Like, why did I do that? No. Like, if you do something that's calculated for you, right, and it makes sense, you're not going to hurt yourself or overstrain yourself or something, right? So I want to say what I'm saying carefully, but like, if you do something that's properly put in place for you, you're going to feel accomplished, you're going to feel proud, you're going to feel confident, your endorphins are going to be moving. You are going to love that feeling. And like you said, it's going to be hard to not want that feeling. It's that feeling that you're going to earn, like you're going to earn to strive, you're going to strive to earn and get it again, right? And you're going to know how you got it.
And that's why it's important to bring yourself through that mental process.
Correct.
Because that's half the battle.
That is, right?
It's like having that feeling in your emotions and in your brain to say, to reflect on it, to start with a plan, to execute it, to feel it physically, and then when you're done, to sit back and reflect on it. Because what we see all the time is people that, we always say, train for life. Yep. When they come back and they're like, and you start seeing it work for these things and simple things. I went on a trip, a camping trip with my family, and like I felt so good with everything.
Yes, yeah.
Like those are the wins, right?
Yeah.
Those trump aesthetics, the looks, all day, every day, because that's longevity. If you're constantly doing that, I've had more success in my business. My mind's been clear. I've been performing at work at a higher level. I'd rather hear those things every day. And not that I don't want to hear the other ones. The other ones are great too. Then I put up 400 pounds on my bench. But those are wins. Those are still great things for certain people. Just like we say, the runs in those moments. Yep. But the reality is even those people, right, that train that way, and we've all been there through different phases, right?
We sure have.
You still go through all the things in between. Mm-hmm. You still go through if you're working on your bench, you're still hitting your rack press, you're still hitting your floor press, you're still doing your push-ups. So you're still doing all the little things to build up to that 400 pounds, to reflect on that.
Yes.
Right? It's not, that's my point, Con. I'm not I'm just saying it's not about, in that moment, have the wherewithal to not just be about 400, 500, and then that's it. Now what's next? And that's why sometimes you could burn out from long distance running to power heavy lifting to anything. I mean, you could burn out on anything. Too much boxing, too much of anything, right? But if you have the wherewithal to reflect, then you're gonna feel great with it, no matter what style of training you're going with, and balancing it out. So I think that's huge, like you said, to realize that when you're done, this was great for me. I feel good. I feel better than I did when I started.
And I think when we talk about human development, right? We talk about building confidence. Like that's the juice to humans becoming better and better and better is believing in yourself, right? So it allows you to step into new territories or new opportunities. And I think we want nothing more than everyone around us to build confidence. And I think one of the most simplistic ways to build confidence is to set a mark in front of you and then hold yourself accountable to completing it, right? And I think this is a really cool way. Tony Robbins talks about it a lot, and he talks about it where he says that the mindset is obviously the true thing that needs to change, right? Because your mindset leads to your thoughts lead to your decisions leads to your actions lead to what you have, right? So, but he says the quickest way to create a change is to create a physiological body change. So a lot of the things that he does in his retreats start with people just starting to move their bodies. Very simple even. Breathing exercises, moving, getting yourself all fired up, getting the juice flowing.
And why is that?
Why is that, right? Because naturally inside of your body, you have physiological changes of cortisol levels dropping and testosterone increasing, and these chemical changes in you start building you up. And you're like, Ooh.
You'll never forget those moments.
Yeah,
that's true muscle memory, and and the body feeling that is something it'll never go away from. You know?
Yep. And now you take that, right? And now you say, whatever it is, like fitness is cool because these are our bodies. So if you have leadership and guidance that can put a plan in place for you, that's going to be something that's going to challenge you but not hurt you or discourage you. Mm-hmm. And you have, like we say, we teach modifications for a push-up, right? A push-up is a very challenging exercise, but there's different levels to it. So now you could have someone who came to a push-up at all, and they want to get to doing a really good push-up. And then you create these little steps in line, right? Now you set up a modification for a push-up, and you have them do 5 reps of it. And at first they do 2 reps, and they have to take a break, and then they do 3, and then they get to 5, and they're like, ooh, I feel good. Now, next week they have to do it again, and you have a set of 5, and they do 1 set of 5, and you're like, yes. And they build off that. Now you go to the next modification, the harder next level, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're starting to compound. So, but my ultimate point that I want to make is this. I can put as much work or anything I want in front of somebody, which that's our goal is to have intention behind those things.
Correct.
Because with great power comes great responsibility. As leaders and coaches, we need to make sure that we're putting the right things in place for people to not hurt or discourage them, but to challenge them and allow them to win and build and get better. But ultimately, what it truly comes down to is a true individual. I can't give you self-confidence. I can't give nobody self-confidence. I wish I could, but you just can't. I can help you achieve it, right? I can help you, but I can't hand it to you. I can help you by creating a beautiful facility with an amazing team that is going to uphold a beautiful culture and core values that you could come to every day to step into unmarked territory to be led and guided through it.
Beautiful.
Right? We could do that.
Yeah.
We could put out really cool content like we're doing now and try to inspire and build and motivate others and just give out this beautiful contagious feelings that we have and we just want for everyone. But ultimately we just can't give you self-confidence. So ultimately it comes down to you figuring out what it is you want, you finding a place like us, right, who could help guide and say, all right, if you do this, this, and this, it's going to get you better. And then ultimately it's about the discipline of you holding yourself accountable to showing up, having something in front of you that says do this, this, and this, and then doing it. Right. And when you do that, naturally inside of you, you're like, all right, I did it. I feel good. And now you start, I like compounding success because that's what this is, but now it starts compounding now. And now your confidence starts building. Now, when we say we train for life, when adversities or obstacles come out into the real world, like you said, out in your everyday, a camping trip, a vacation trip, work, these things present themselves now. Now it's not your first day or oh my God, something new is in front of me.
First time you're making that decision.
First time you're making that decision. First time you're holding yourself accountable, saying, okay, am I going to focus on problems or am I going to focus on solutions? That's what we talk a lot about. So here's my problem. Now what do? How do I hold myself accountable to completing this and finding a solution? And now our training can help that. And it's this beautiful cycle of holding yourself accountable to completion.
It really is a beautiful process. It seems simple at times, but there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of variables, a lot of decisions that have to be made, and a lot that goes into it. But I think so many people out there have more potential than they believe as a start. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's why we're putting this out there. I think I know it's an awesome topic brought up by the member of our community. Great topic. What I want to do is, Matt and I are going to take like a minute or so each to kind of just give a quick breakdown. I'll start it off of like when we lay out we'll go with like in fast, like a monthly, weekly, or daily, like how we approach what our plan is and like how we approach, reframing and how we approach our workouts, basically, or how we approach our training. So for me, it's like, I like to be organized. That's part of it. That helps me, right? We all do. We like to have something that we're working towards, right? And for me, it's everything involved. So I like to go month at a time. Let's put it like that, and subject to change. That's one thing to always remember. Things are subject to change with me, from schedules to the type of workout to things that come about, maybe little injuries, things that are bothering you, all adjustments. But either way, I start with the month, right? And I say, all right, I'm really gonna focus on this phase on this month is body weight, but benchmarks. I'm using an example. Yeah. So I'll take something as simple as, like you said, a small little circuit, right? 10 push-ups, 15 crunches, 20 bodyweight squats, 20 good mornings, 15 frog crunches, 10 renegade rows, quarter mile, right? Something simple. That's like one of my days, right? And I'll build a week's workout like that, but then maybe I'll do like a weighted day, a body weight day, a weighted day, a body weight day. But most importantly, right, besides all of that, all the substance, is the approach, right? So, like you said, half hour to an hour, right? Put the headphones in. I like listening to, I like getting my mind going. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's podcasts, but I also like to separate that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like depending on what's going on in work life and family life, how chaotic it is or how busy it is, I'll go with music, right?
Yep.
And honestly, sometimes I'll put the headphones on. I won't put anything on, which no one knows that.
Yes, I like that.
But and then I'll save the listening and the other for other moments and times to better myself, to where I really have focus on it. You know what I mean? And again, those things are subject to change during the week. One day you might get wrapped up in a conversation, a phone call that goes a little longer, a client that you're hanging out with a little after, helping them build, and that workout is only a half hour. And maybe you make that decision because it's easy to say, "Shh, crap, this one's a tough one today," or it's a little, I don't half hour squeeze that in. Like, there's no way I'm gonna feel good. I'll pick it up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say that, but then in our head we have our, like you said, I have my go-to of what my general activation is. Yep. I'll hit my bridges, my T-spines 3 rounds. I'll hit my upper body band activation, my lower band activation, and I'll just take a walk for the remaining 15 minutes.
Love it.
But that's what it's about, is adjusting and adding little things. So for me, it's in moment simplicity. And then on the other end, when you're really in a groove, maybe that next month, you have an awesome month, you're feeling good, right? You reflected on how you feel and where you're at, and then you start upping the challenges for yourself. You know what I mean? And this is how we generally, not to the direct detail, but this is how we approach setting our members up and customizing their journey, right? So we practice what we preach. We deliver in the same way. We put ourselves through the same thing, and our whole team, as they grow, they learn to do something similar. It's not always cookie cutter, but it's something similar. But you add different things, and maybe now that next month you add in 2 hard boxing days where you get a coach just holding mitts for you. And then maybe the next month it's like you're going heavier with the weights and you are challenging yourself for one of your favorite moves in there. Maybe it's your bench press or your back squat to hit some higher numbers. They're not as high as they used to be, but to do some things that bring a little more of a challenge for you. So it's really just about being smart with the layout and the approach, and then practicing all those things that you work on inside of those moments of working out, listening to podcasts, just doing everything that you do to better yourself. You know what I mean?
And I love what you said, because being planned obviously is what we love to do, but then it's about holding yourself accountable to it. Right. And like the thing you keep saying is like, listen, we all make a plan. We all want this stuff. That's the thing too. Like, we all want to become better. Like when you look at ourselves, and when you feel like, when you just don't feel good and like you want to get better, but like, so now, like you said, it's about getting the plan, but then it's about holding yourself accountable and adjusting and adapting through the different things that come up. So it's a beautiful thing. For me now, personally, I feel like I'm the best that I've ever been of understanding myself, right? So it's not about anymore for me about how much weight I'm moving, about how far or how fast I'm getting work done in a run, or being, the hardest hitter. If I'm boxing or if I'm moving around, I want to fight with my brain now, right? So I've gone through phases of that where it was about being a tough guy and banging and getting in there, but now it's much more calculated, much more of my brain and thinking and understanding what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, all around. But for me, my process now is pretty much like you said, it's about a 4-week thing, so I'll stay on, I do 2-a-days now every day, so I prime myself in the morning. My morning is dedicated to me. It's the true ultimate silence. It's the darkness. It's very early. I know where my girls are, my wife and my baby girl's sleeping. Everyone is at peace. Everyone that I feel proud to lead, right? And to have that leadership role. I know everyone is at peace and nobody necessarily needs me in this moment. It's 3:45, 4 o'clock. It's in the darkness. And in that time, I do slow things. So I go over gratitude, a meditation for 3 minutes to remind myself why I do what I do. I then go into static stretching, nice, slow, whole body stretch. I go to a band activation, and then I do multiple different rounds of like small things. So I do a couple different calf raise rounds, keep my ankles strong, little things, rear delt flies to keep my rotator cuff strong, little things. Like that's my time to focus on the little stuff that keeps me strong for the big stuff. And then I do a couple shadow boxing rounds, get my heart rate up. I finish with a 1 minute plank hold. Then I go hit the shower, 5:15. I finish with a cold water. I go as long as I can and shoot for like a minute, cold water finish. So by the time I start my day, like I've already set so much adversity in front of myself and overcame it.
Right.
And I feel ready to go. My midday workout is more based upon like to challenge myself more, right? Like physically. Like that was mental and emotional challenging in the morning. This is more physically challenged. This is my weight training workout. This is my conditioning, my running. It's midday. It starts with this amplified simplicity, and then I have a plan based upon that, based upon the different phase I'm in, whether I'm changing my rep ranges, my splits, working on different things to put things together to help me in my life, like you said earlier, like still challenge myself, but also control myself, right?
Sure, yeah.
I don't need to lift crazy amounts of weight. It's just not where I'm at in my life, and that's why I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
But I still need to be challenged. So I think that's where we're the best we've ever been in understanding that individually. I do that Monday through Friday. Saturday, I only prime in the morning. Sunday, I only do gratitude and cold shower.
Cool.
So I do a little bit of each of those things each day, and Sunday I take time to wake up slow and nice with my wife and my baby, and it also, that's like, for me, I look at that as like the deposit back into my bank for that one day to feel that, just like the love and the peace and the niceness. So come Monday, I'm back into the darkness, and that's how I build myself back.
The reality is Sunday too. We're reloaded. You know, we're getting everything prepped and getting everything
ready to go, getting everything lined back up for the week, and then we get back out there.
And again, to highlight just some ideas, some examples.
Yeah.
You know, and a reminder that you know, as leaders, we really pride ourselves in always adjusting and always growing and practicing what we preach and delivering in that way. And I think that's important, you know. I think most importantly is the people that have brought us along, their journey, and taught us these ways and things that we've learned. You know, there's a lot of them out there, including the people that we've led, that they've taught us a lot of lessons too, kept us in check. Including most importantly, our team, right?
Yeah.
And our community and the people we surround ourselves with. So I think that is huge, because the people listening right now, including the listener that really brought this topic to the surface, we're all directly connected to doing these things together, and that's as big of a piece of the puzzle as anything else. Is all these little things we could talk about, but having the community around you and that support, like you said, for yourself and from other people. I think it's a balance of everything, right? But to knowing in your own mind when no one's watching, you could do the right thing, but also knowing you're going to deliver and act in the same way and take those same actions and be true and honest with yourself when you're inside of the Relentless facility or within, you know, with other members of the community. The reason I'm talking about the community a little more, and it's a great segue, because we're going to get some really, really good in-depth background on our next episode. We have an awesome guest, someone that was part of our movement from just about day one. Actually, we grew up with this guest, and it's going to be interesting because we're going to see how this processes like this and reframing your self-education and the way you work out and the way you train for life brings people to other points of success and operating in other fields and other places. So our next guest is going to be awesome. On top of the last two guests we had coming in, so she's going to really be able to give us some good insight, and we're going to have some great conversation. Funny how it lines up though, just in line with what we're talking about, right? Like how through her journey specifically, she was spending so much time building herself and working on herself and not sitting at home feeling sorry for herself as she was finding her path in life and through her journey. So this is episode 12 today. This is episode 12, so that'll be Lucky 13 next.
Oh, nice.
And we're just going to keep marching forward. Again, any ideas anyone has, any suggestions, any feedback, as you see, we're not messing around. Like, we'll use it. You know what I mean? Like, we love it. It might not be right away, but we'll work it in. We note it down. We store it away. And we're really, really happy with all the feedback and that people are listening and everyone is helping each other change everyone's lives, you know?
One thing I want to throw out is we did a podcast on this, I want to bring it up, but there's a difference between leadership and influence, right? We're choosing to be leaders in this world, but whether you want to or not, you're influencing those around you, whether you want to or not, and hopefully you want to leave a great influence for the ones you love the most, right? Like, obviously, whoever else that you don't necessarily care about, it is what it is, but the people that you love the most, you want to leave a great influence. So what I will leave you with is, what is your legacy? Like, what is your legacy going to be? Because the reality, like you just said before, is like, the way you hold yourself and the way you carry yourself when no one else is watching, when you're alone, is going to shine in public. So when pressure hits you, the things I do when nobody else is watching is not, it's for me, but it's to better me as an individual, to be the best person I can out into the world, because I like to consider myself a problem solver, a man who finds solutions. Like, I get calls all the time of people who don't know what to do, and I help them find a solution. I might not even know what the industry is or whatever, but I'm a solution guy. So that, I want that to be my legacy in the moment of darkness and when you feel like there's nowhere to go and nothing, that I could be a call for you. But the way that I got there was the way that I hold myself accountable to adversity and overcoming obstacles. And that's who I am, that's what I want to be. So, like, what is your legacy going to be? Figure out who you want to be, and then let's figure out the plan that it's going to take to get you there. And how do you want the people that you love the most to perceive you? Because these tools that we're putting out are only tools that can help you become that version. And that's all we want for everyone out there. So again, thank you guys so much. Keep it coming. Like Paul said, we love the feedback, and we definitely want to hit any topics that you may have or have different thoughts and shoot different ideas back and forth amongst each other. So thank you guys.
Keep attacking the summer and share away. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Buzzsprout. Throw those AirPods in when you're on the beach enjoying this beautiful summer here. Sometimes a little humid, a little sticky, but still keep us in mind, keep us in those ears, and share away with your friends, with your family. Keep getting after it, everyone. Thanks for listening again.
Welcome.